Thank you, Helen. Good afternoon, everyone. Um, so, we are hearing amazing things from the morning today, and we are on this panel now. So, we will be speaking about how can Asia become the standard bearer for the climate movement, and we have two great panelists with us today. So, without wasting any time, I would like to call upon Mr. Kimiko Hirata to the stage as our next speaker, Miss Kimiko Hirata, sorry. Kimiko is the founder and executive director of Climate Integrate, an independent not-profit climate policy think tank that provides fact-based information and supports various actors in their decarbonization efforts in Japan and abroad. Welcome. Next upon, I'll call upon Harjeet Singh. He's a strategic advisor at the Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty Initiative. He's an activist advocating for climate and social justice globally. He specializes in advancing just transitions, strengthening adaptation and resilience programs, and addressing climate impacts and migration. Welcome, Harjeet. So I will begin with an opening question for both of you. And I will invite maybe Kimiko to speak first. You both have years of experience working in the climate space, and you've witnessed the growing movement in Asia firsthand. How has the climate space changed for you in recent years? And what do you think are the biggest wins as well as missed opportunities?
Yes, first of all, thank you very much for having me to this panel. I'm very delighted to be with you, Divya and Harjeet. I've been around this climate space for around 30 years already. I'm at the think tank of my own called Climate Integrate, but I spent most of my time as NGO, and I've seen many changes over the course, sometimes excitement, sometimes disappointment, sometimes very enthusiastic, drastic change, but sometimes setbacks. But I think that the biggest change I'm seeing so far is the fact that decarbonization is set as a goal for the international goal as well as Asian goal. This is significant. Most of the Asian countries are committed to decarbonize while expecting economic growth and population growth. This is significant. And I'm very hopeful to see the changing landscape that I haven't seen last 10 years ago. And especially recently, I see very hopeful to see the changes of the narratives and actions around coal power in Asian country. Asian has been a follower of the coal phase down or phase out to the European or US movement, but finally, the coal power needs to be shut down early. New coal power has to be stopped early. That narrative has been spread. So through various activities like JETP, ETM, G funds, managed the coal phase out program. So still the implementation is still early stage. There are a lot of work needs to be done, but I'm so grateful for the many actions taken by CSOs or many companies to take action on it and the financial institution to support that. But I also think that we have to ask ourselves seriously about the questions. So decarbonization requires bold and ambitious action. So then why action for transformation has been so slow? We cannot afford to say that we missed the opportunity after the adoption of the Paris Agreement 10 years ago. So I really want to see much more drastic transition in Asian region.
Thank you so much. Call for action. Harjeet, would you like to comment on that?
Sure. So just to build on what Kimiko said, for me, the biggest missed opportunity is we did not focus enough on both the causes and consequence of climate change. So when we speak about the cause, if you look at the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change or the Paris Agreement, we don't even talk about fossil fuels. It's only recently at COP26, we barely mentioned the word fossil fuels, not comprehensively, and at COP28 in Dubai, we eventually landed what we need to do in terms of phasing out fossil fuels. Even that has a lot of loopholes. So not talking about the cause of the climate crisis has been such a missed opportunity, and we have lost precious 3 decades. And that's why the whole agenda of decarbonization has been delayed. And the consequences, look at where we are. We are living in a 1.6 degree warmer world. We are seeing impacts all around us. We did not really factor those impacts when we were talking about the convention. So we kept talking about emission reduction and adaptation. But right now, the most important task for us is to decarbonize, at the same time deal with the impacts that are already happening. If we had talked about that way back in 1992, we would have been living in a very different world. Having said that, what motivates me is the kind of awareness now we have, the way governments and businesses and civil society and many faith leaders and young people are talking about climate action. There's a lot of potential. What we have seen in terms of renewable energy growth is inspiring. Not enough, but it does give us hope that we can deal with it. And I also believe in humanity and the power of humans to actually avert the crisis. So that's where we are.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Harjeet. Kimiko, you have a lot of experience on keeping climate ambition alive during difficult times. What lessons did you learn about convincing people to stick to the mission? And what advice would you give to other leaders working to keep climate at the top of their agendas?
I agree that this is a difficult time, but I have to say that it's not new. Over the course, we face challenges not only by political regime change, but also the economic downturn or some unexpected accident or terrorist attack or war. And we always face the challenges to make the climate agenda as one of the top agenda for the countries or companies or even for the people. Let's think about the good time. In good time, did we do good enough? Well, even in the good time when the momentum was high, or we had a very good supportive government, still we had a lot of problem. The economy towards economic growth, we still stick to the fossil-based economy. So what we need to do has been unchanged, regardless the outside situations are. I studied political science, so one of the very famous political scientists, Dryzek, wrote in the book a while ago that there are any single countries that prioritize climate change in the past. And I agree with that. If the country is prioritized at any time, probably we see a totally different world. So that means that this is the world. We have to recognize that this is the world that we live in. So how we can accelerate climate actions, climate change, preventions in this world. So of course, advocating, the prioritizing climate actions or climate, policy change is very important, and we need to continue doing that. But at the same time, try to incorporate climate agenda into the agenda where people or companies or countries are very concerned about, and then bring the solution, present the solution for both. So I share my own experience about my fights as an NGO against coal power expansion in Japan after the Fukushima nuclear accident. That was really bad time because the people are very concerned about the nuclear risk, and the government really want to reduce the cost of electricity while increasing the capacity for the electricity stable supply. So saying no to new coal project is really not really well received in the population. But And the people say that nuclear risk is worse than coal power risk, or we need the coal power for covering up the electricity supply. But I try to seek the way to get the people's support or companies' support or even financial institutions' support in the midst of that difficult time, presenting the financial risk for being stranded asset to the financial institution, and then they started to have a very cautious look at the coal power development, and also presenting the people not the CO2 risks, but for the air pollution risks, showing the PM 2.5 expansion in region, and people started to realize, oh, we don't need this. We need to fight against this new projects in developing coal power. So there are always some ways to accelerate climate action in an even difficult time. So every time challenges are different. So this time, high tariff or fragmentation, this seems very challenging for us, but we definitely have a solution, and we definitely have a way to progress climate action. So I'm very optimistic that we can continue working on that.
Thank you for that optimism. Harjeet, I'm bringing you to your work, and the core value of your work has been around just transition. And Kimiko spoke about people-centric approach to climate. With Asia's potential to lead the climate movement front and center, how important is ensuring a just transition? And what opportunities do you see coming from this approach?
Yeah, I think when we talk about just transition, we first need to look at what happens if we do not adopt the principle and practice of just transition. Coming from India, and in this region, we know how China, Indonesia, India, Malaysia, we have millions of workers who are engaged in the fossil fuel industry, directly and indirectly. And if we do not adopt just transition, we are going to be causing massive workforce impacts. And we cannot afford that, which is going to exacerbate poverty and inequality that we are already dealing with, which will lead to social and economic disruption. And we are talking about a country or a region which is still growing. Even in developed countries, if you don't plan it, remember the Yellow Vest movement in France. So you cannot just apply policies which are environmentally sound but do not take into account people's needs and aspirations. So, and on the positive side, if you look at the potential, so ILO estimates that about 25 million jobs can be created in the green sector by 2030, and majority of them, about 14 million, can be generated in Asia alone. And I think if you look at the indirect number, it's going to be much more. So there's a huge potential that we have. At the same time, we have a challenge of doing economic diversification. If we have to keep those people in jobs, we have to make sure that those people are involved through social dialogues and the processes which will help us adopt a more inclusive approach so that we can have more socially and environmentally and economically balanced approach. And that's exactly what just transition brings in, because we are talking about a massive transformation which is going to require skill building and reskilling. So we are looking at a very different economy, and we need to make sure that the society is involved right from the beginning.
And you just spoke about balancing different needs. Can you speak a little bit more about it? Your work has been endorsed across Asia, and there have been different actors that you've been working with. So how do you convince people? How do you work with different actors?
So first of all, one thing that we need to recognize, although there's a lot of talk about sustainability and climate action in Asia or in any other developing region, climate change is not going to be a big banner issue. That's the reality. We are still talking about poverty and inequality. We have to make sure that the development imperative has to be at the very core of it. And that's where we need to tie that with energy access and energy security, energy sovereignty, and sustainability that comes along with that. And us who are working on the Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty Initiative, and the reason, as I mentioned in the beginning, when you don't have international frameworks and policies talking about fossil fuels, and we know it's going to cause massive economic and social disruption, we need a plan. And so what we do, we talk to the governments that we know that it is inevitable we are going to have a transition, but we need to make sure that transition is fair and just and orderly. To enable that, we need an all society approach. So that's why we work with communities, generating a lot of awareness so that they are involved. We also work with a lot of constituencies. So when we talk about the fossil fuel treaty initiative, we now have 4,000 organizations, about the same number of scientists who are supporting the call. We have 100 Nobel laureates. We have got hundreds and thousands of faith leaders and health leaders looking at just transition from various different angles. We have 120 cities all around the world, including some in Asia, who are now creating that ground up demand that we need this transition. At the same time, we also work with the diplomatic community. We work with senior officials, bureaucrats to plan that transition alongside working with politicians to create that political will. So we need to have that all society approach, having all hands on deck approach to make sure that we all understand what is required. And that's where we are, and that's how we are building this campaign. And we cannot afford to have winners and losers when we talk about just transition.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that interconnectedness on climate with sectors, peoples, and society, and development at a larger as a larger goal. Kimiko, turning to you, what's happening today in the climate movement in Asia, across Asia? What have you seen in recent times? What steps do you feel we need to take as an immediate priority?
Thank you. Well, I'm very encouraged by the fact that many things are happening in financial sector, business sector, and also the CSO sectors in these regions. And decarbonization needs to be accelerated in that way. But in that way, I'm optimistic, but also I'm really concerning. I have a very big concern about the mix of the quality of the initiatives. Japan is promoting green transformation initiatives, and also very open and active in supporting Asian countries, especially Southeast Asian country, through Asia Zero Emission Community. Asian Zero Emission Community, AZEC. This is really encouraging, and the momentum, keeping momentum high from one of the big developing countries like Japan are on for the decarbonization in ASEAN countries. But the project we investigate are mix of the good projects and also the projects full of greenwashing. So I think we are at the crossroad. Do we really continue investing into the ASEAN countries for the fossil-based technology, or do we really accelerate really renewable sourced technologies? And in order to accelerate renewable energy in scale and the speed, definitely we need to have a strong policy change, strong policy. So Japanese government policy needs to be shifted towards that direction. And then we need to, all of us needs to advocate to get the strong signal from the government, from the companies, or from the people to let's go to this. Otherwise, transformation we need will not be happening. So I think this is a very crucial moment for Japan and also the ASEAN country to see what we need for that and what kind of technology we need to, we are going to choose it. And then definitely the advocacy work from, we cannot just wait for having the strong policy sometimes comes from the government. We really need to ask from our end for us to be able to implement it. So this is a very crucial time for all of us.
Thank you. Thank you both for your insights today. And please join me in thanking our great panelists. It was wonderful speaking with both of you and being with you in this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.